It's the battle between the $1,000 price smartphones. We know that the iPhone X achieved that unprecedented mark when it was introduced last year, and now we have the Galaxy Note 9 included in this exclusive club, boasting more features and goodies than previous devices in the line. So which one would you go with? So right off the bat, we'll certainly agree that the iPhone X is easier to handle in the hand. While it still requires two-handed operation most times, its size pales in comparison to the Note 9, which is taller, wider, and heavier. Still, they boast that glass meets metal designs that have become the standard amongst flagships. However, the stainless steel frame of the iPhone X makes the construction a bit sturdier feeling in the hand than the Note 9. To Samsung's credit though, they've engineered a marvelous masterpiece. For a phone of its caliber, it deserves attention for the fact that it includes a headphone jack, there's a slot for the S Pen, dual speakers, a heart rate sensor, iris scanner, and a fingerprint sensor. And all of that is housed in a premium design that has an IP68 water-resistant construction versus the IP67 rating of the iPhone X. So while the iPhone X feels like the more solidly constructed phone, the Note 9 certainly shows us that it can still look good while retaining several features in the process. When we look at the specs of their displays, it's a solid win for the Note 9 and its larger 6.4-inch Quad HD Plus Super AMOLED display. There are more pixels crammed into it than the iPhone X's 5.8-inch Super Retina OLED panel. Now most people would be hard pressed to notice the difference, but if you watch 4K HDR videos on YouTube, you'll really notice them. Moving beyond the details, the two displays actually boast several favorable qualities. For example, they have wide viewing angles, excellent color temperatures, they're pretty accurate in the sRGB color gamut chart, but the only notable thing is that the iPhone X reaches a peak brightness output of 640 nits versus 575 nits with the Note 9. Then again, there's that distracting element with the notch on the iPhone X's display. If you value simplicity more than anything else, then you'll favor the iOS 11.4.1 experience with the iPhone X. Now one could argue that the latest Samsung experience running on top of Android 8.1 Oreo with the Note 9 is visually simplified as well, but there's still a layer of complexity over the experience. And that's basically the biggest differentiator between them, as the Note 9 clearly carries an arsenal of features that cater to power and productivity users. On a superficial level, both experiences get the job done. With the Note 9 though, it goes a little bit more than that because of all the added utility of the S Pen. You have access to a desktop-like experience, you have quick shortcuts courtesy of Edge panels, and much more. Apple does indeed introduce something new to the mix, Face ID, which is far more comprehensive than the Note 9's equivalent iris scanner and facial recognition system. And while we find Apple's Animoji and Samsung's AR emoji features novel, Apple's implementation is more responsive in tracking every movement of our face with its technology. These are two powerhouse smartphones, and you could expect top-notch results. The iPhone X leverages the A11 Bionic chip, while the Note 9 comes in two varieties, the Snapdragon 845 for US-bound models and the Exynos 9810 for international ones. When it comes to your typical operations, they're both largely responsive, but there's just more of a snappiness with the iPhone X. When it comes to storage though, it's the Note 9 that wins us over because it has a generous starting capacity of 128GB and you have expansion courtesy of the microSD card slot versus the iPhone X, which is available in either 64GB or 256GB. Pound for pound, the cameras on these two smartphones stack up really well. They both feature dual camera implementations, so they're going to be great for those portrait shots with the bokeh effects, but with the Note 9 it has a variable aperture. On top of that, we like how the Note 9 offers more of a diverse shooting experience because there are more features with it, like the Pro mode, which gives us access to manual controls, which isn't something you're going to find with the iPhone X. So which one takes the better photos? Now, we can agree that they both deliver nearly the same top-notch performances when the lighting conditions are ideal. It's seriously tough to discern the differences, but the only thing we can mention is that the iPhone X tends to apply a smidgen more contrast and color saturation, and that's about it. Details are rich and plentiful on both smartphones, so there's always room for resizing them later on. In low-light situations, we're giving the slight edge to the Note 9, mainly because it tends to retain a little bit more of the fine details in the shot, whereas the iPhone X's performance is a hairline softer. We can tell the Note 9 has an advantage. It's not by much, but its low-light shots tend to be cleaner looking overall. There's a little bit noise introduced with the iPhone X. When capturing video, we set them both to shoot at 4K resolution at 30 frames per second for an even comparison. And what we notice is that they both look amazing when there's plenty of lighting in the scene. However, the Note 9's performance draws out a little bit more of the details, while also performing better when it comes to stabilization. For the iPhone X, it still manages to do nicely in this department, but it tends to exhibit some artifacting elements when there's an extreme jump from light to dark scenes. Low light performance goes to the Note 9 as well, generally because the exposure is higher and draws out more of the details, which are otherwise indistinct with the iPhone X. Seriously though, it's tough to discern this unless you really look into the videos a lot closer. Both are strong performers here, but the Note 9 ultimately has an edge. Even though the iPhone X's dual speaker configuration is louder at 76.3 decibels versus the 74.6 decibel mark out of the Note 9, we still prefer the Note 9 when it comes to the overall multimedia experience because it does feature a headphone jack, which is pretty convenient when you think about it. On top of that, when it comes to watching video, we also prefer the Note 9, not only for the fact that it is larger, higher resolution, but we do appreciate how the video enhancer mode actually increases the brightness and vibrancy of the videos, so it really captures our attention a lot more. Phone calls are handled decently with both smartphones, seeing that the earpieces are strong and audible, which makes them usable in noisy conditions. There's not particularly one that we favor more than the other, but it's worth pointing out the extra volume mode that's available with the Note 9 when it's really loud around you. Interestingly enough, their battery performances are very close to one another. In our battery benchmark test, the Note 9's 4000 mAh battery manages to achieve a mark of 8 hours and 56 minutes, while the iPhone X isn't too far behind at 8 hours and 41 minutes. But it's a totally different story when it comes to recharging them. That's because the Note 9 only takes 190 minutes to get back to full capacity versus 189 minutes with the iPhone X. There's a reason why the iPhone X dominates the best-selling list, despite fetching for $1,000 for the base model. It's an incredible smartphone with an excellent all-around performance to match it. Samsung, though, manages to deliver an even more convincing package to the table. In each of the categories that we talked about, we tend to see the Note 9 standing out on top over the iPhone X. From its camera performance to its battery longevity and high resolution display, there's more reason to invest in Samsung's new pride and joy. For the same amount of money, you're getting a phone that's accompanied with a headphone jack, the S Pen, the ability to access a desktop-like experience, you get double the starting storage capacity, and even a more water-resistant construction. Essentially, you're paying the same amount, but receiving far more in return. Power users especially will appreciate the level of utility that the Note 9 brings to the table over the iPhone X, seeing that it can do much more. Then again, the beauty about the iPhone X is its simplicity and focus on the core essentials. Sure, the Note 9 may overwhelm the iPhone X in terms of features and what it can do, but Apple's choice is to provide consumers with a simple phone that just works, and it does exactly that. And that is it for this comparison, guys. If you want to learn more about either smartphones, you can check out our website, phonearena.com. This is John V, signing off.